People inherently have an opinion and they want to share it. How do you leverage that as a market to gain market share? Understanding what to say and when to say it is one of the best things and one of the hardest strategies that we have to put together. Today, we're going to be talking about a survey. It sounds simple, but I promise at the end of this podcast, you're going to learn how one of our clients generated 254 people who want to sell in the next 12 months using one survey strategy. And we're going to share with you a handful of them. Let's get started. Welcome to the Rainmaker Podcast, where we help business-minded real estate agents stop chasing leads and help them start attracting business. We don't claim to make winners here. We do claim that we help winners win bigger and faster. Building your business is building your database, one that works harder for you than you do for it. So if you want to get off the transaction treadmill, keep on listening. If you want the shortcut to dominating your market, then go to www.marketmakersystems.com/demo. Well, I love this topic. I think, we can call it shake the trees. I don't think it's officially shake the trees, but it is a close cousin to shaking the trees. How you doing, fellas?
Doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Had a lot of interesting conversations over the last few weeks. Had a great time. Just super grateful and excited about today's podcast for sure.
I feel like
Very cool.
my body's back in Missouri, but my brain is still.
You're what?
I'm gonna try to my brain, my spirit. I'm still somewhere else. I got in late last night, later than I had anticipated.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to keep up intellectually.
There you go. So, man, I one of the things, like I told y'all, one of the things I like to do on these is give some great actionable direction. That's probably my most favorite thing to do, and so that's why I'm excited. A lot of the times, um, some of the times I've listened to podcasts that are like 9 minutes long, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's actionable. I can do that. What I wanted to share with you guys was a quick story. One of the things that we did in 2016 when we built our real estate brokerage, literally from scratch, from nothing to 268 transactions, 2.2 million in commissions, from not really selling any real estate at all to 90% of those transactions being in a marketplace that I have never served. One of the things that we used to do was we'd call around and do a survey, and I was sharing on the road, and I was sharing when I was on the road how effective a survey is. In fact, it's kind of weird because I was doing a survey while I was on the road, sharing with people how effective a survey would be for their business. And, like to share about a survey, why I think they're effective, how you can use them. And mainly, I was inspired by this topic because when I was leaving a real estate convention I guess it would have been yesterday, but the day before I left, I guess, one of the top agents in the world walked up to me and said, man, you know what? I did exactly what you said with the survey. And as of an hour and a half, I generated 254 people who said they're going to be selling their home. So I wanted to give some context of about the survey, how to execute it, and then maybe give some different high level different ways. I want to share specifically, how we are teaching people to execute it. Then the cool thing about it is now the survey is in the tool. I'd love to talk a little bit about, how having the survey in the tool, why in market, how it's really different than some of the other tools. So with that being said, that's I don't feel uncomfortable jumping right in for people who have a pen and paper ready. First and foremost, for one of the things that Jake has done is, and Michael Odo as well, is we use surveys in all of our business, and without telling exactly specifically, I want to give you guys an actionable way that you can use it. And so think about all your past clients. First and foremost, the goal that you should be asking yourself is, are you sending emails to your database? If you are they getting opened? If they are, Are they getting delivered? Are they getting delivered to the spam box? Once you get by all of that, you get into what we refer to as messaging. And a lot of the times, if you might be familiar with the philosophy of cheese versus whiskers. And cheese, one of the things that we talked about on the last podcast was the importance of having relevancy in your message to market match. And the reason that is because people, first of all, one thing you have to know about people in general is most people have an opinion and they don't mind sharing it. Most people, right? Um, mainly men. I'm joking. Maybe women, but it's true. People inherently. A lot of people have an opinion. They don't mind sharing it. And if you can position a survey in a way that's congruent and alignment to why someone is in relationship with you. So an example would be if somebody was searching to buy a home, then finding out, should you send a survey day 1, day 7, day 14? Should you send it via email, via text, via messenger? We do surveys through messenger. We do surveys through the front of the room when we speak to groups of agents. And why is that? And the reason why is because, first of all, surveys for the other person, and most of it's kind of implied to give some sort of feedback or their opinion on something. And so what I did was, when I was on the road and we're talking to agents about how to double their business by attending the WYourBusinessLive.com workshop, the thing that I'm simply doing is teaching them leverage points. And one of the most underutilized things that we have, and this is actually a chapter in the book that me and Mr. Odo have been working on, which is communication to your database. And so a survey, first of all, is not what the problem is that most people communicate just sold, just listed, newsletter. It's just information. None of it. A survey implies engagement and a response required. And so that's the first thing. The second thing is it demonstrates a culture of caring about the customer and their opinion. And so and thirdly, it also does, if done right, give you an excuse to reach back out to somebody who's participated in the survey to share the results. And so now you're not looked at as a pest, but a guest because they took some sort of action, and you're simply following up with them. And so what that means for your real estate business is look at the different audiences you have. You have buyers that you haven't gotten in touch with, or maybe you have, but you haven't called them in a while. You have past clients, maybe you haven't called in a while. You have people who own homes. You have people who live in a neighborhood, so to speak, right? So you have all of these different audiences that you can target, and you're targeting them with a message. And the message, and it's different messages. It might be a Facebook message, it might be an email, but one is the survey. And the survey message is, first of all, not looked up. It's almost like celery, because I've heard, and I don't know if this is true, but I heard celery has negative calories or 0, right? A survey on the Richter scale of you always want to deposit content into your database that adds value. A survey does not extract. It doesn't feel like a withdrawal. If someone is sent a survey, you're not ever positioned as, why are they sending me all this stuff? Now, if in an environment somebody just asks you a bunch of questions, what's in it for, and they're only asking questions based upon what's in it for them, then it could be looked at as marketing and advertisement. And that's the difference in marketing, where you have the cheese versus the whisker. A survey flies kind of in its own realm, and that's the brilliance of it.
Honestly, yeah, you can keep going. I didn't mean to interrupt, but for me, I always feel flattered when somebody asks my opinion in a survey. I mean, when I get surveys from NAR, I literally take the time to fill them out. I want them to know my opinion.
Yeah, and I believe you do, because you are definitely the type of person who has an opinion and is not is willing to share it. And the thing is it's what I'm not trying to do. So let me tell you the quick story. A guy walks up to me and he tells me he got 200. I believe it was 254. The number moved throughout the day.
That's crazy.
And here was the survey. In a conference that we co-hosted together. I was telling the room, hey guys, as kind of I was kind of delivering some of the content that we know to be true as marketers, and that we teach with the Market Maker platform. And we used to use third-party survey um, tools, which I'll let Mike and Jake talk to in a minute about how the amazing things they've done with the survey strategy inside the tool and why those things are important. But the survey we surveyed was past clients, and database of unconverted leads with two different messages, but very similar. And the first the position in the survey was, hi, we're doing a home ownership survey for 2018, and we're coming to the end of the year. We need your help. We need a couple more responses to finalize this. It's going to take less than 2 minutes. It's literally two questions. And question number one, do you own a home that you're going to sell in 2018? Question number two, question number two is, do you know anybody who is going to be selling a home? That's the brilliance, question number two, because question number two wasn't part of the original survey. Because some people check no on a no, they don't know, they're not going to, but yes, they do know someone, right? And so that the 254 responses that this participant and friend of ours had was, he looked up an hour later, had 45 more. I have no idea where he ended. The problem with that is I've done a survey, and you have to have good automation and good systems in order to take that survey from a marketing strategy into a sales strategy. And that's what I really want to talk about. Is I wanted to give the idea, but what happens when you're sitting on 254 people that responded, which could happen. And the second thing I want to talk about, guys, today is, what are all this survey, and I would like to use this as kind of an announcement and really send this out to the past clients, Odo, to let them know of some of the new features that have been built inside the tool.
I love that.
And quick question, clarification wise for you, Michael, on that survey that you guys sent out last week, with this 254 responses.
That was this week.
Oh, was this week. So you didn't even have to bribe them with it.
No, this was just a survey. The thing is that the thing is that this was a survey to a certain audience, which was people who knew them, and the truth was he didn't even want to do the next 10 things, because he was like, this was such a small list of my database. I could literally. The cool thing is that I think you can survey and unconvert. The first thing is let's get into the first thing. If they don't open the email, you can literally send the survey again. That's a email marketing technique that anybody who does not open the email or click on it should get. It's called a click sequence. They should get a follow-up email. And the way that works is, if they didn't open the first one, they don't feel. All you have to do is put forward, or you could put hope you didn't miss this, or you have until Friday. I promise it's only 2 minutes, right? Like sending it via email. You could get really amazing, and you could shoot a little video and post the survey as a link under the video with the Market Maker tool. You could send a one-off video to somebody. You could send a video to the people that reply, thanking them for their reply and letting them know you're going to be reaching out to them. But the thing that I think is amazing, which was a pain in the rear, was that I had all of these things that I wanted to do with the survey, and I was unable to do them because nobody would trigger automation off of the. It was through a conversation with Mike that now we can, and we can not only. That's why we couldn't use a free survey tool, because what happens is you end up with a big Excel sheet with 254 people's names. What happens if they answered this question this way, if they got a voicemail from you within 8 minutes? That's what we're talking about, and that's what really makes the Market Maker tool great, because let's face it, we've done more over the phone surveys, but there's a million different ways to accomplish. I used to pay people labor dollar to call around the neighborhood. What if I just did a slide dial and got the same result, or if not more, or if not better? What happens if I ran the survey and it was sitting on a branded page in a neighborhood, and that campaign was directed to the trails, and it was a trails ownership survey that ran every 90 days, and I reran those surveys across 10 different neighborhoods with the highest turnover rate? What happens if people who clicked on that but didn't do the survey targeted with thinking about selling, find out what like the whole thing is that it is just an amazing. It's an amazing top of funnel. It's an amazing bottom of the funnel. And here's the thing. Let me tell you what I've been telling people just to get y'all real clear is I've been working with a lot of top agents around the country that are wanting to recruit for all the obvious reasons. That for the business model that we currently have with our real estate brokerage is we're incentivized to recruit. And I told people I would survey every agent at the end of every transaction. If someone's already done a transaction with you, some of the best recruiters in the world say that's one of the best opportunities to spark up a conversation. And so, and it's duplicatable, especially if there's people who are in a business model who are incentivized to recruit, which just so happens to be one of the preferred method or models that I like.
Love it. Don't forget. I mean, it's a good way to get intel on a market that you're trying to. You can't hear me?
I didn't say that again at the very beginning.
Oh, I said it's also a way to get intel on a market that you're trying to penetrate, right? You can survey recent sellers to figure out how they picked their agent, why they picked that agent, how many agents they interviewed, and start to gain some understanding there.
Heck yeah, you can.
Mm-hmm.
So Odo, in the tool now, what, because this just rolled out and I was on a Facebook Live yesterday and like we haven't even really announced it to our current client base, which is exciting that we're going to be able to do that here shortly. But I already had a question about somebody on the Facebook Live yesterday asking what's the best way to utilize the survey tool, because I just saw it and it looks amazing. So if you were asked that, what would you tell them as you were the architect behind making this happen?
I would tell them to rewind the podcast and listen to it again. there's just so many ways to use it, right? But personally, my thought process was to start with your existing database and make it a part of the Shake the Trees, make it a part of a rejuvenation strategy, re-engagement of the people that you really haven't spoke to, and segment it between buyer and seller as far as audience, and try to pump some new life into those relationships. And so that would be what I would suggest personally. But I think that Mike had a lot of much better suggestions. Top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel. You can just use it a number of different ways. But the cool thing is the way that we built it was the answers to the questions. We'll drop them into specific groups that can have plans tied to them, which will, again, like you mentioned, trigger automation. And so that's the real key, because when we were doing this, it was a real manual pain in the butt process. And I'm sure we missed opportunity because of the lag, because of the delay to be able to get and aggregate that data and put it somewhere that was useful.
Absolutely. And I think too, just my experience with survey response, like there are different classification. Like there are some people that are, like in the spectrum. If they said that they were looking to sell their house in the next 12 months, there's probably some people that might currently have that on the market, right, with somebody else, which whatever. There's probably people that are in the process of figuring out how to put it on the market right now. And then there's people that are 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months out, right? And that allows you to immediately be able to dial in who you should be actually reaching out to first. Because if you do have a big influx like we had this week, where you have 250 come in within probably a couple hours of sending it out, who's going to be the, like, if I could choose to call people first and have conversations with people first, it's definitely going to be the people that have responded to something already. I would rather talk to those people first, especially the ones that respond and say, yeah, I've been trying to figure out what I'm going to put it on the market for, blah, 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 blah. Like that would be the first person that I would want to call, somebody that's like 12 months out and is like, yeah, we're thinking about, at the end of the school year, putting this on the market. That person I still want to get in touch with, but in ranking of priority, depending on how big my team is, like if I'm going to attack these, like the faster you do it, the more likely you are to get a positive result, and quickly a positive result.
Yeah, if it were me, just full disclosure, they would be here's what happens. if they answer yes to the question that they're selling, I'm putting 50% of my marketing budget into that database. And if I could have 500 people into that cohort, I'd probably be okay. I mean, right now, like that's the thing is if somebody says yes and you got 254, they should be getting direct mail. They should be getting a phone call. They should your willingness to invest in that database. You should be. That's all you should like. The thing that this has to be is a campaign for you. It can't. I mean, I love the shake the trees, but as long as you don't forget, because then you're leaving. The cool thing about Market Maker is you can set it up to. You could have a survey. You could have a survey strategy that surveys them every 90 days or 6 months, right? You can do a different survey if they were interested in buying versus selling. And the survey question could be question number 1, do you have to sell your home before you buy your next one? Question number 2, the bad part about buyer lead, I mean, the survey is so positioned right. And what I'm excited to do is implement it for our clients. And I mean, I'm so excited about just being on this podcast. I mean, literally, I could hang up this podcast, get on a Facebook Live, and show the tool. And I mean, we should lay out the top 7 ways. And the cool thing about Market Maker is that you can simply share it with anybody. That's what I love about Market Maker is if I got a campaign that works, I can hit make available to all other Market Maker clients, and everybody has a survey. And so for me, now that the tool is live and all the automation, as people that are part of our clients, which I feel agents in the world using our platform, as they start using it, we'll have all those different campaigns that people could use. And what was it? There was somebody had an amazing. I mean, it was like one of the most amazing. I won't remember it because I can't. I'm trying to, I want to remember it, but I don't think I'm able. But somebody had an amazing way to survey people. I remember. A guy told me that they do a client appreciation party every year, right? And he said after watching my workshop, one of the things they do is they do a movie theater screening. He said, but we always at the very end we say thank you so much for your referrals, right? And that's kind of it. And so he's now going to start in his client appreciation parties doing surveys to know if any of them have referrals. And he was like, he said we are closing, we're not closing hard for the referral. And so he went through the process, and then he changed up the strategy with the survey, which I'm used to doing from the front of the room in a group full of people. So imagine imagine being able to survey all the people that came to your open house, if they would really answer it, if you had something of value to give them. And so this guy was saying, man, I just learned, I was doing these dang rent out your movie theaters. He said, we had 300 people show up to our last one, and they can bring friends and all this stuff. And he said, but we just had and we do it because we know they like it and they talk about it and they post pictures about it. But he was like, now I feel like I can monetize it quicker. And I was like, there you go.
I love that.
I do too. And as you were talking about the database, if you had 500 of those, the thing that I think is worth mentioning is the way to spend additional money on them is through retargeting, and specifically retargeting with testimonials, right? Because they're at the bottom of the funnel.
Yeah. And the other thing, as we have more of these surveys now that it's launched, you realize, like if the communication has been kept up, and if the survey was built in a way that it happened every single time, like it's in the delight stage, right? So all the past clients get a survey at 4 months, 9 months, 16 months, whatever it may be, that we determined to and we find out that that's the best place, then you wouldn't have 250 come in at once. And if you did that, you should, if it's done correctly in a systematic way, then you should have a consistent flow of them, not just these random little bursts of them. You know what I mean? Like, but that's just part of building a system. That's a part of enhancing a system. When you find things that work, then it should be done every single time without fail and be built into a systematic process, not something that you remember to do a shake the trees, or you're trying to do it to catch back up because you're off pace for your yearly goal or whatever that may be. But you find those things and you're like, ooh, I found a gem. That one works. Definitely got to put that into the system so it happens every single time with every single past client or every single converted lead after we tempt them over 29 days, still can't get in touch with them, get a response. So now I'm going to drip some value on them and layer in the way for those people as well. But that's a system that they go into that you don't have to remember to do every once in a while. And that just evens things out, and you'll consistently have those coming in rather than in bunches.
Yeah. I had a quick question, Jake. What would people need to do? Let's say they're listening and they want to see, I want to see how you're using the survey. I'd love to have a copy of the survey questions. What could somebody do who's listening to today's podcast that's like, shoot, I want to do that. I'd love for you guys to show me what you're doing, and maybe they listen to it this week, or maybe they're listening to this 4 months from now and they want to know, man, I want things they have available now. How could they reach out and take a deep dive on, or maybe just peek behind the curtain and show them how to get this up and running in their business? How do they get a demo, man? A demo.
Yes, sir. Yeah, if you go to marketmakersystems.com/demo, then you just fill out a little bit of information real quick. We'll reach out to you immediately. You will experience what we do. So you'll get probably a little bit of an automated tech because we practice what we preach there. So we'll get you in the calendar and just kind of run through and show you what we've been building and what we got. And if it makes sense, we can talk about what that can look like. And if not, you at least can see, behind the curtain, see exactly what we're doing and how we're doing it.
Heck yeah. And from now on, we're going to end the podcast with a survey.
Let's do it.
I love it. All right, man. I love it. Well, thanks, guys. Like we say at the Rainmaker podcast, to all of our market maker community, you want to build a business that works harder for you
than you do for it.